So now, next is Professor Lewis Berry, Deciphering Writing Prompts exercise.
If you've ever given a writing assignment in a class that you taught, which is most faculty, you've probably also had the experience of being frustrated by the writing that you get in response to that assignment. And some of that comes down to what the students are doing, but some of that also comes down to what we're doing as faculty, and it actually begins with the writing prompt, the assignment prompt, where we lay out for students what we want them to do in a particular assignment, right? And the prompt that you give them sets the parameters for how successful or unsuccessful they're likely to be in meeting what you're asking for from them for the writing assignment. So I do a small little exercise that I've put here in the book that I call Deciphering Writing Prompts. It's on page 8. And you can do this in one of two ways, and I do it since I'm teaching composition classes, where I'll do it in way 1B, where I will ask students before one class as homework to bring in a sample of prompts from other classes. That way it's not mediated by our relationship and our coursework and stuff like that. And we can just talk about prompts in general, but that's appropriate for a writing class if you're teaching a biology class or what have you. It can just be a prompt from your own class, which certainly I do as well. I should also add for 1B, if you do ask students to bring in prompts from other courses, insist that they be anonymous. You're not trying to praise or shame any colleagues, right? You're just trying to teach them principles of being able to identify how they can negotiate their own coursework most successfully. So the idea is that it's a skill, right? Deciphering a prompt and being able to recognize how to read a prompt that a professor gives you and identify what key things that faculty member is asking for from you and what the assignment ought to look like is a necessary skill to succeeding and doing well at college. And conversely, encountering a prompt that's not well designed, right, for whatever reasons, that's vague, that's confusing, that's difficult to respond to, right, the kind of prompt that makes it more likely that students won't succeed on the assignment, right, is also a skill, right? If you, as a student, get a prompt that's, one sentence, write a paper talking about doing a close reading of a Shakespeare play. Crap, I'm an English major and an English professor, and I'm not going to do particularly well at that assignment, or I'm going to feel I'm going to feel at sea, right? So what do you do in that situation as well? So those are the goals of this particular exercise, that if students are getting well-designed prompts, how do they respond to them effectively? And if they're getting prompts that aren't as well-designed, how do they respond to those as effectively as possible? So, and of course you can do this with your own prompts, which hopefully are well-designed. So whatever prompt you decide to use, whatever option you decide to use, 1A or 1B, give the students 5 or 10 minutes, have them read through the prompts, their own prompts that they brought in, or your prompt for the particular assignment that you want them to understand, and have them take notes on it, underline key words, key sentences, key phrases, what they think. They should be able to ask, you can even have them write this down, what do you think your professor is asking for from you in this assignment? What would a successful example of a paper look like? Then after doing that, break students up into small groups and have them discuss what they found. What do they emphasize? What did you take away from this prompt, and how does that similar to or different from what I did and what I understand the professor is asking me to do? And finally, as an entire group, as a class, discuss these observations together. And this is the point in the conversation where the real key element of this whole lesson comes in, and that's where you as the faculty help the students see not just what this one particular assignment is asking for from them, but what skills they need to be able to decipher prompts, whatever the assignment is. And not just guiding them through that, but pointing them out that this is something that that they can take to all of their classes, right? Even if it's just an assignment for your class. And one of the ways in which you can do that is highlight for them, hopefully they'll highlight it themselves in the course of the conversation, but if they don't, then you can highlight for them what the key pieces of information, what signal phrases there are in the prompt that they're working with, right? Simple things that to us might seem obvious or second nature, but for the students might be something they let slide by. Simple things like page count, bibliography, works cited page, single or double spaced, right? Structure, right? If you as a student get a prompt where the faculty is spelling out, first do this in the introduction. It should be X number of paragraphs. Then do this in the body of the paper. It should be Y number of paragraphs. And so whatever this particular structure the faculty member is asking for, that's a perfect opportunity to point out to the students that the faculty member is giving you a roadmap to success in this assignment, right? And then the flip side of that, if there isn't as clear a roadmap, one of the things you can do is talk to students about being proactive about their own educational uncertainty, right? So say to them, go to the professor's office hours, ask clarifying questions when the assignment is given out, right? Try to judge on the basis of previous written work in the class what that faculty member might be asking for, right? That's why I have them for 1B, submit one prompt they found helpful and one they found confusing, because I think there's things that can be taken away from both. But the key thing in this is, if you're doing it with your own prompts, one, yeah, this is how you respond to this particular assignment, but anytime you're doing that with students, and it's a good habit to get into, even if it's just for 10 or 20 minutes at the end of a class, anytime you're doing that, you can also use that as an opportunity to reinforce the general transferable skills for understanding prompts that help students succeed. Questions? Or
Thanks, Professor Burry. I thought that was really useful and something I want to try. I just wanted to mention that I had the pleasure of observing Professor Soto's class last semester, and one thing I noticed that he did that I was like, oh, that's such a great idea, is that he collected the students' writing prompts with their in-class essay, and he gave feedback on how they annotated the prompt itself, along with the feedback on the essay. Now, obviously, you can't do that in every assignment or anything like that, but if you're working in a 100 level class, teaching students how to do college, it might be a really good idea to do with one of the first assignments, just to show them, hey, it's not just what you write in the essay, but how you interpret the question.
yeah, thanks, Victoria. That your account of Juan's exercise with the annotations and evaluating that, I think, is a brilliant example of what I was just saying about spinning off and creating creative variants on this. Yeah, and this is why I like 10 minutes ago wanted to say my comment to Stacy's presentation about rules, because my background is in writing and thinking about rules and constraints, and so that's what prompts do. They set the parameters, they define the terms for the assignment, and you have flexibility in how you arrange those rules and parameters, and then you can also help students understand how to work within them, whatever the course and assignment.
I just want to say thank you very much for bringing this topic, and I like it very much because it does not only acknowledges that you need to become very good at writing the prompts, and of course as professors we try to do the best, but if the student doesn't have the right skills, then it's the other part. So this also helps us to think about not just the content and how the prompt is organized, but where is the student at the moment when it receives the prompt, and we should also work on that. I think in mathematics, that's one of the things we have to work a lot, because they're not only dealing just with the language, so sometimes it's two languages that they're trying to but also with the mathematical aspects. I think this is very important. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and Clara's point, I think, also reminds me of one of the most painful but also most useful moments in my teaching life, when I realized the effort I put into prompts has an effect on the results that students get out of them. Because I remember when I started teaching, it's more work for us, right? You have to write the thing out, but the more work you put into it and the more precise you get it and working the way you want it to, the more likely you are to get better results from the students.
I'm Chris from Behavioral and Social Sciences. I just wanted to also thank you for the presentation. I think one of the things that I'm starting to do for the first time this semester, especially for an online class, but my in-person classes too, is I'm actually assigning the reading of the prompt. Like, one of the things that we sort of expect the students to do, especially when we're in class, we say, I need you to go and look over the assignment this weekend. But I'm actually saying, like, in the syllabus, for this date, like, read this, you know, and making it much more explicit that you have to do this because we're going to talk about it, you know, the next class or whatever.
I love that, Chris. Thank you for it. And it reminds me of, this was not here, but again, in my previous job, it's not like it was a recent job, but I'm sharing these memories today, apparently. But I once, between classes, emailed the class to say, we were supposed to do this thing, and now we're going to do this other thing instead on Wednesday. And then I got to class and no one was prepared for the other thing. And I said, I emailed, what happened? And they said, well, we don't read emails. And I said, this is like 8 or 9 years ago. And I said, this was already news to me and kind of heartbreaking. But then I said, even from your professors? And they all looked at me like, oh, you poor thing. So anything you can do to say, things that we take for granted, what are called expert blind spots, are things we shouldn't be taking for granted. And so even, yes, read the prompt. That's your homework, right? And that matters.